Welcome back to Face the State on this Sunday morning. The governor has said it, and so have business leaders. If you want Connecticut to compete with other states, we need stronger cities, and that is the word from millennials, too. And with us today, two young professionals heavily involved in the community. They are Nisha Siedor, she's an attorney, and Jesse Imse, a consultant. And we thank you both for being on the program today. And Nisha, I'll begin with you because when you talk to people who you work with, the young people, what do they say about living in Connecticut? Do they want to get out? Because some people say they want to, and some people are like, well, no, I'm going to make the best of it.
You know, generally, a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my friends, they want to see Connecticut grow. They want to see it, you know, Hartford specifically, be revitalized. You know, there's work to be done, but there's already been some great actions that have been taken. You know, the development of Front Street, Pratt Street, having the Yard Stadium has been incredible, and I think it's been a wonderful thing for young people to go to, a great activity for families to bring, you know, their kids to. You know,
you both have great resumes, and yet you're here. Has it been tempting over the years to perhaps go for a job in a bigger city?
I mean, there's always more opportunities. However, I grew up in Connecticut here. It's home. My family's still here, but the really big selling point about Connecticut is the location. So everybody always says, you know, it's not Boston, it's not New York, right? You hear that a lot. For me, that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Connecticut has everything that those cities have to offer and more, mainly because we're right in the middle of both. So you could jump on the train, you can get in the car, and you know, within an hour, hour and a half, you can be in Boston, New York, on the beach, within a small city like Hartford. So.
Let's talk about what's on the wish list, though, because there are some improvements that we'd all like to see be made. What's you know, on your list, Nisha?
Absolutely. I think more development. You know, when we were first talking about the Yard Stadium, it was part of a much greater plan. It was part of a bigger development. And unfortunately, due to the development, you know, issues at hand, we only got the stadium, but there were supposed to be high-rise apartments, a beer garden, restaurants, and places for young people to hang out. And unfortunately, the developer had placed a lien on those parcels of land, so we haven't been able to develop them for the past 3 years. But my colleagues have been working tirelessly with the City of Hartford, and yesterday we got great news from the appellate court reaffirming the trial court's decision to release the liens, which is wonderful because now Hartford can develop that area and really bring it that exciting downtown area that we first envisioned when we were talking about the Yard Stadium. You
know, Jesse, as you look around that Yard neighborhood, how important is that to attracting young professionals from other states when they come to the game, and perhaps now they'll see some development around it? Sure,
yeah. So I think in looking at our cities, we have to think, what challenges do young professionals face today, and then what are they looking for in their cities? For me, approaching the challenge part, right? Most young professionals, they're strapped with some sort of student loan debt. They're maybe living at home for a couple of years before they get out into the workforce. So when they move into, say, a Hartford, a New Haven, a Stamford, that might be the first place that they live on their own or with a roommate. It's really all about fostering a live, work, play environment. So the Yard Stadium, great example. Development around the Yard Stadium, putting up new apartments. Say you work, you know, downtown Hartford. You also want to live in downtown Hartford, and then you want to play in downtown Hartford.
You bring up a good point because you know we talked to some of the employers here, Travelers, you know, to name one. Says a lot of their 20-somethings they're hiring. They're a completely different breed than we all are. They don't want to own a car, and they don't want to have to drive places, and they'll rely on Uber to get here or there, and they don't mind getting everything in the mail. Is that what you're finding? So it's a different mindset.
It is. It's absolutely a different mindset. Making sure that we have a great transportation plan to get people where they want to go, in and out very easily. I think that is going to be huge for us, too. You know, I was excited to see the governor's transportation plan where he discusses, you know, making the trains in and out of New York a little bit faster, because I think that will help people come to Connecticut, move to Connecticut. Young people can commute in and out of the city a little bit faster than they originally are on Metro North right now. You know, it's a wish list item, but we have the Hartford line to New Haven. I think it would be even better if we could have, you know, a more affordable, easier option for people to go to Boston and Connecticut right from, New York, right from Hartford. So focusing a little bit on the transportation would be wonderful.
We talk about the brain drain, where college graduates in Connecticut, they sometimes don't want to stay in the state and they move on. And you're also a professor at the University of Hartford. Do you see this among your students, that perhaps they just want to go out? And what is the recruitment effort to keep them here?
Sure. Yeah. So I think Connecticut, as a lifelong resident of Connecticut, I think we've always had somewhat of an identity crisis, right? So what is Connecticut? Whereas, you look at a Boston, a New York, a DC, there's a little bit more of an identity there. So for a Boston, they showcase the history, spirit of America, that's Massachusetts. New York, I love New York. Connecticut, what do we have? We have an incredibly diverse grouping of things that you can do here. As I mentioned before, you can be on the beaches of Rhode Island or Connecticut from anywhere in the state within an hour, hour and a half. You can enjoy the suburbs, go on a hike, up in Simsbury at Talcott Mountain. You could go down to Stamford and be a hop, skip, and a jump away from New York City. So it's really a communication and branding effort, I think, from our leadership that's lacking in the state of Connecticut, of attracting the young professionals, of attracting that tourism. So I think we can kind of think about that, get our wheels wheels turning a little bit more on the branding and communication of what Connecticut is.
I want to touch on tourism just a little bit, because let's say you had some folks from out of state coming to visit you here, and they've never been here. What kind of things would you tell them about it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's so much that I actually think Hartford has and Connecticut has. Like you mentioned, Jesse, you can go to the beach, but we also have some amazing museums, the Mark Twain Museum. We have Elizabeth Park, which is stunning in the springtime. There's plenty of options and things to do around here. West Hartford is a great, vibrant downtown feeling area where there's restaurants and bars to go to. So I actually have friends who, when they want a little bit of reprieve from the city and they want to still come and be able to relax and do things, they come to Connecticut and they come and visit us, because we have our own form of tourism, which is being able to show them a little bit of some vibrant downtown life, but also a more relaxed atmosphere that isn't as stressful, I think, as some of the bigger cities.
How involved and how aware is your generation in terms of helping Connecticut grow and helping it become a better place? Are they involved in activities, government, and so forth, and their communities?
Yeah, so I think the individuals who are here are invested here.
And I say that because there's a lot of talk about, millennials are apathetic and they don't want to do anything.
Yeah, so I see the exact opposite. Okay. So I think that we're incredibly passionate about where we are. So those who are here are invested here. They want to see Connecticut grow. They want to see Connecticut succeed. And I really do think in a lot of ways Connecticut has succeeded. It's just about showcasing those small successes and growing from those. For me, I'm involved in a couple of young professional groups within Hartford itself. I witness people getting involved within neighborhoods, within communities, being social ambassadors to the greater Hartford area. So I really do think that we get a bad reputation.
Bad rep, yeah.
For sure.
So you see it as well, people getting involved in government and things like that?
Absolutely. I mean, our generation, I think, has been so involved in government, so excited to help the city revitalize. Actually, one thing I think Connecticut is really known for and should be given a little bit more credit for is our startup environment, which we don't hear that much about. But millennials, Forbes recently did a study, and when millennials will one in two millennials will start their own business. And starting a business is expensive. But if you're able to do it in a place like Hartford or in Connecticut, where you have the support system, we have over 10 incubators and accelerators here who provide mentorship, who bring in angel investors and money. If you can have lower overhead, co-working space that's affordable, then this is the place for you.
That's the subject of a future Face the State.
Really?
Nisha Siedor, we thank you very much for being with us today. Jesse Imse, best of luck to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After the break, do you remember the day the Whalers announced they were leaving Hartford? Well, we have a clip from our archives you'll want to see, or maybe not. Maybe you'll be crying, who knows? And we welcome you to comment on today's program. You can follow me on social media right now. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.